The city was alive with noise, a place where voices mixed with the clatter of metal. Strange smells of food, smoke, and oil filled the air. The marketplace was not a place of joy, but of sorrow. Rows of cages stood under the hot twin suns, each cage filled with tired faces. Alien children, adults, creatures of all shapes, all chained, all for sale. Traders shouted prices, calling out to buyers from different worlds. Some laughed, some bargained, but most turned away. Marcus, a human traveler, walked through the crowd with steady steps. He had seen many markets on his journeys, but this one pulled at him in a way he could not explain. His boots crunched on the dust, his eyes scanning the cages, his jaw tight with anger he tried to hide. Then he saw her, in the corner of the row, half hidden in shadows. A small alien child sat curled up, chains locked around her thin wrists. Her skin was pale with a faint glow, almost like starlight. Her eyes large, filled with fear, but also something else. Something that made Marcus stop in his tracks. The merchant near her laughed as another customer spat in disgust. "Too weak, too strange, worthless," the man said, kicking the bars of her cage. The child flinched but made no sound. She had learned that silence was safer. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He stepped closer, ignoring the mocking stares around him. The child looked up, her eyes meeting his for only a second. It was enough. He saw the quiet plea, the whisper her lips could not form. "Help me." The crowd noticed the human stopping. Whispers spread. "Is he serious, a human wanting her?" One alien muttered. "Foolish, she is nothing but trouble." Another spat. Marcus crouched near the cage, his voice low. "Can you stand?" he asked. She did not answer, but her small hands tugged at the chain as if to show him her prison. The merchant pushed forward, his thick arms folded, his grin wide. "Human, you don't want this one. She is cursed, she is weak. Even if she lived, she would only be a burden." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Name your price." The merchant blinked, surprised, then burst into laughter. The crowd joined him. "Price for this trash, huh? You insult me, human. She is not worth the iron of her chains," he said, but his greedy eyes flickered. "Unless, of course, you insist. Then maybe I can find a number that hurts your pocket." Marcus's voice stayed calm, though his fists clenched. "Name it." The merchant leaned closer. 50 credits, he hissed. The crowd gasped. It was a cruel price, 10 times more than a normal slave, a trap to make Marcus back away. But Marcus did not step back. He reached into his pouch, pulling out every last coin, his fingers trembling slightly. He had saved this for his own supplies, food, passage to the next system, but he pushed it all into the merchant's fat hand. The merchant's eyes glittered with greed. He counted quickly, nodded, and unlocked the cage with a rusty key. "She is yours, human. May she drain you dry." The lock clicked, the door opened. Marcus knelt and held out his hand. The child hesitated, staring at him as if waiting for a trick. But when he whispered softly, "You're free now, come." She slowly reached out, her fingers brushing his palm. Her chains rattled as she crawled into the light. Gasps rose from the crowd. Some laughed, some spat. "A fool wasting money on garbage. He will regret it. Humans are too soft." But Marcus ignored them. He lifted the child gently into his arms, feeling how light she was, how fragile. Her head rested on his shoulder. Trembling, the merchant shouted after him, "Remember, human, once chained, always hunted. She will bring trouble, and it will find you soon." Marcus did not turn back. His steps were firm, his voice low as he whispered to the girl, "You're safe now. I won't leave you." Her small fingers gripped his shirt, weak but desperate. For the first time in what felt like forever, she closed her eyes, believing the promise. The market behind them roared with noise again, but many eyes followed the human who dared to buy what others would throw away. Whispers spread like smoke. Hunters would hear, and chains once broken always brought new dangers. And yet, as Marcus carried the child through the crowd, he felt something burning in his chest. Not fear, not regret, but a strange fire, a reason to fight. He had not just bought her freedom, he had taken a stand against the cruel system. The chains were broken, but the story had only begun. Marcus walked through the crowded streets, the child still in his arms, her chains clinking softly with each step. She was light, far too light for her size, as if hunger and neglect had drained every bit of strength from her small frame. He kept his head down, but he could feel the eyes on him. Traders, buyers, guards, all staring. Whispers ran through the marketplace like a wave. The human bought her. He wasted his last credits. What kind of man throws away his future for a broken child? Marcus knew he had nothing left now. His pouch was empty, his savings gone. He had given away every coin for her freedom. The thought of it should have filled him with regret, but instead, as he looked at the small face resting against his shoulder, he felt a strange sense of peace. The child stirred, her glowing eyes flickering open. She looked up at him, lips trembling. "Why?" she whispered, her voice thin and cracked like old paper. "Why did you not walk away?" Marcus slowed, his boots scraping against the rough stone of the alley. "Because no one else would," he answered simply. "And because I couldn't." Her gaze lowered, as if she didn't believe him. As if she had heard too many lies before, she said nothing more, but her small hands clutched his shirt. Behind them, the merchant counted his coins, his laughter echoing, but his words were sharp enough to reach Marcus's ears. "That fool will regret it. Hunters will come. They will want her back, and he will have nothing to protect himself." Marcus didn't turn back, but a cold shiver ran through him. He knew the merchant was not lying. As he reached the edge of the marketplace, a group of guards stepped into his path, their uniforms dark. Their eyes filled with arrogance, one lifted a hand. "Human, stop." Marcus tightened his grip on the child. "I bought her. The deal is done," he said firmly. The guard smirked. "Bought her, yes, but do you think that makes you safe? There are rules, human, rules you don't understand. Some chains are not meant to be broken." The child's breathing quickened, her small body trembling in Marcus's arms. He could feel the fear radiating from her. He kept his voice steady. "Then tell your master I paid the price. He took the credits. It is done." The guards looked at each other, then laughed. "Done, perhaps, but not finished, you'll see, human. They will not let her go." They stepped aside, letting him pass, but their mocking eyes followed. Marcus walked faster, weaving through the crowd, every step taking him further from the market, but also deeper into danger. He could feel it, as if the city itself had turned against him. He ducked into a narrow street, the smell of damp stone and rust filling his nose. He found a quiet corner and finally set the child down. Her legs shook as she tried to stand, but the chains dragged her back to the ground. Marcus knelt, pulling at the heavy locks. "I should have asked for the key," he muttered under his breath. The metal was strong, but he refused to let her remain bound. The child watched him, her eyes wide. "You should leave me," she whispered. "They will hurt you. They will hunt you. I am not worth it." Marcus stopped. His hands still gripping the chains, he looked at her, his voice low but fierce. "Don't say that again. No child is worthless, not you, not anyone." Her lips trembled, as if she wanted to argue, but the words caught in her throat. With a grunt, Marcus pulled a small tool from his belt, a piece of metal he had kept for repairs. He jammed it into the lock, twisting, pushing, until the chain finally snapped open. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the narrow street. The child gasped, lifting her hand slowly, staring at the red marks left behind. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered something soft, a word Marcus did not understand, but her tone was full of gratitude. He gave a small smile. "You're free," he said, before she could answer. A shout rose from the distance, boots striking stone, the sound of hunters, the crowd parting. Marcus's head snapped up, his heart pounding. They had found him already. The child froze, her glow faintly brightening as fear surged through her body. She grabbed Marcus's arm. "They will not stop, they will never stop." Marcus pulled her close again, lifting her into his arms once more, his mind racing. He had no credits, no allies, no plan, but he knew one thing with absolute clarity. He would not abandon her. As he slipped into the shadows of the city's outer walls, the voices grew louder, closer. The hunt had begun, and Marcus realized the price of compassion was not the coins he had given, but the danger now chasing both of them. Still, he held the child tighter, whispering in her ear as they ran, "Let them come, I will never give you back." Her small fingers gripped his hand, and for the first time, her lips curved into the faintest smile, weak but real. The chains were broken, but freedom had a cost, and Marcus was ready to pay it. The city was alive, yet Marcus felt only the rhythm of pursuit behind him, every step echoed by boots, every shadow a possible ambush. The child clung to him, her glowing eyes darting nervously. Her chains, though loosened, still clattered with each movement announcing their presence. He turned into a narrow alley, the walls high and damp, the stench of refuse clinging to the air. Neon signs flickered overhead, casting strange colors across his path. Marcus's breath was sharp in his throat, but he refused to slow down. The child whispered, her voice breaking, "They are coming, I can feel them." Marcus tightened his grip. "I know, but I won't let them take you." Behind them, shouts rose, hunters pushing through the market crowd, their armor gleaming. Under the lights, the sound of shock staves crackling sent sparks into the air. People scattered as the hunters advanced, but their eyes were locked on the human carrying the child. Marcus rounded a corner and found himself at a dead end, a solid wall of metal scraps towering over him. His heart pounded. The hunter's boots clattered closer. The child's hand pressed against his chest, her small voice trembling. "They will catch us. Leave me, please." Marcus knelt, setting her down gently but firmly, shaking his head. "I told you? I don't leave anyone in chains, not now, not ever." His eyes darted around, searching, then he spotted it. A rusted ladder leading to a rooftop. He lifted the child quickly, pushing her small hands to the rungs. "Climb. Don't. Stop," he whispered. She hesitated, fear in her glowing eyes, but when Marcus gave her a reassuring nod, she began to climb, her chains clinking, her small body shaking with each step. The hunters turned the corner, their leader smirking. "There he is, the foolish human. Hand her over and maybe we'll let you live." Marcus grabbed a piece of broken pipe from the ground, his knuckles white around it. "Come take her," he growled. The first hunter lunged, his shock staff crackling. Marcus swung the pipe with desperate strength. The clash sent sparks flying. The hunter stumbled, and Marcus kicked him hard against the wall. The second came fast, but Marcus ducked. The staff grazing his shoulder, pain shot through him, but he ignored it, shoving the man back with a grunt. Above, the child reached the rooftop, her eyes wide as she looked down. She wanted to call out, but fear sealed her lips. Marcus fought with everything he had, his breath ragged, his arms aching. But more hunters arrived. The alley was filling, his chances slipping. Then, a loud creak echoed. The rusted ladder groaned under strain. Marcus looked up in horror as it began to snap loose from the wall. The child screamed, clutching the rooftop edge as the ladder fell away. Marcus's heart stopped, but she held on, dangling, her glowing eyes filled with terror. "Hold on," Marcus roared, slamming his pipe into the nearest hunter to clear space. He rushed forward, leaping against the wall, his hands reaching. He caught her wrists just as her fingers slipped. Her chains rattled wildly, her small body trembling as Marcus pulled with all his might. The hunters behind him shouted, their weapons striking sparks off the walls, but Marcus didn't care. He lifted her, forcing her back onto the rooftop. She crawled forward, safe, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. She whispered, "Don't let go. Please don't ever let go." Marcus climbed up beside her, his muscles burning, his body battered, but his resolve stronger than ever. He pulled her close. Never. From below, the hunters cursed, raising their weapons, but the human and the child were already racing across the rooftops, neon lights flashing beneath them, the wind whipping against their faces. The city stretched wide, a maze of alleys and towers, but Marcus knew he could not keep running forever. He had no food, no shelter, no allies, only his will and the fragile trust of the child at his side. They stopped on a high rooftop, hidden behind a vent. Marcus crouched, catching his breath. The child pressed close to him, her voice barely a whisper. "They will keep chasing. They will never stop. I told you I am cursed." Marcus looked at her, brushing a strand of her pale, glowing hair from her face. "Then let them chase. Let them come. I don't care if the whole city hunts us. You're not going back in chains." Her glowing eyes shimmered with tears, her small hands clutching. His arm, she wanted to believe, she needed to believe. Below them, the hunters spread out, their leaders shouting orders, their voices sharp in the night air. They would search every street, every corner, until the child was theirs again. Marcus gazed at the city stretching far into the horizon, neon lights blinking like false stars. He knew the night was only beginning. The hunt would not stop, but he felt a strange fire in his chest. The price of compassion had already been paid. Now came the fight for survival. The child leaned against him, whispering so softly only he could hear. "If you don't give up on me, I won't give up on you." Marcus's lips curved into the faintest smile, tired but determined. "Then we'll fight together," he said. Above the crowded city, under the neon glow, a human and a fragile alien child began their escape. The hunters behind them, the key. Night filled with danger, but also with something stronger, a bond that no chain could break. The night was colder outside the city, the noise of the marketplace fading behind them. Marcus had carried the child through alleys, across rooftops, and finally out beyond the tall metal walls. Now they rested inside the hollow of a broken rock formation, far from the streets where hunters searched. The child sat close to him, her thin arms wrapped around her knees. Her faint glow lit the dark hollow like a weak lantern. Marcus studied her quietly, his body aching from the fights. His shoulder still burned where the shock staff had grazed him, yet he kept silent. At last she spoke, her voice small but heavy. "You don't understand why they chained me." Marcus looked at her, his brow furrowing. "Then help me understand." She hesitated, her glowing eyes flickering with fear. "I was born wrong," she whispered. "My people said my blood carried danger. They saw it the first time I touched the stones in our village. They glowed like fire under my hand. The elders called it a curse." Her trembling hands rose. Faint lines of light moved across her skin, pulsing slowly like rivers beneath her flesh. Marcus watched as the glow brightened the hollow walls. "They feared me," she continued. "They locked me away, said I would bring ruin, then traders came and the elders gave me to them. Said chains were safer than letting me walk free." Her voice cracked as tears rolled down her glowing cheeks. "I was sold again and again, always in cages, always called cursed, until today." Marcus's chest tightened, anger burning behind his calm face. "You are not cursed," he said firmly. "You are a child, no curse, no burden. Just a child who deserves to live free." She shook her head almost violently. "No, you don't understand. The power inside me is real. It frightens even me when I cry. Things break. When I dream, fires spark around me. If I lose control, people get hurt." Marcus leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then we will learn control together, but you will not go back to chains." The child stared at him, as if searching his eyes for weakness, for lies, but all she saw was determination. Slowly, she lowered her head, whispering, "Why would you risk yourself for me, a stranger?" "Because someone has to," Marcus answered simply. "And because I choose to." For a moment there was silence, only the faint hum of the night wind passing through the rocks. Then the child's small hand slipped into his, her skin warm, glowing faintly against his rough palm. But peace never lasted long. Outside the hollow, faint voices drifted on the wind, hunters moving through the wasteland, their torches flickering. In the dark, Marcus stiffened, pulling the child closer. "Quiet," he whispered. She pressed against him, her glow dimming as if she were trying to hide herself. But a sudden burst of light escaped from her trembling hands, a glow that slipped. Through the cracks in the stone, the hunters saw it. Shouts echoed in the night. "There, the cursed one, she's close," Marcus cursed under his breath, pulling the child to her feet. "We move now," he said. They rushed deeper into the rocky path, the child stumbling on sharp stones, Marcus pulling her along, the hunters' voices growing louder, weapons clashing, armor rattling. At the edge of the rocks they reached a small cave. Marcus guided her inside, pressing his back against the wall as shadows moved outside. The child's glow filled the space with a ghostly light. She looked at him with wide eyes, whispering, "If they find us, I could stop them. I could use my power." Marcus shook his head sharply. "Not unless you must. Your life is more than the weapon they think you are." The hunter's footsteps grew louder, torches casting red light against the cave mouth. Marcus gripped his broken pipe tighter, ready to fight, but his heart raced with dread. He was only one man, and they were many. The child clutched his arm, her whisper urgent. "If they take me, they'll kill you. They always kill those who try to save me." Marcus turned his head toward her, his voice low but fierce. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Her lips trembled, her eyes glowing brighter with tears. She had never heard such words before. No one had ever chosen her over safety. No one had ever promised to fight for her. The hunters entered, the cave mouth, their armor clinking, their commander's voice sharp. "Human, you cannot win. Step aside. She belongs to us. She always will." Marcus stepped forward, placing himself between them and the child, his pipe raised. "Then you'll have to chain me too," he growled. The commander sneered, but before he could strike, the child's glow flared again, brighter than ever. Light spilled across the cave walls like lightning. The hunters stumbled back in shock, shielding their eyes. Marcus turned, seeing her trembling, her body shaking as light poured from her small hands. "Stop," he whispered. "Save it." But she could not hold it. Rocks shook, dust rained from the ceiling. The hunters roared in confusion, their weapons sparking uselessly against the blinding light. The glow faded as suddenly as it came, the child collapsing against Marcus's chest, weak and pale. Marcus held her close, whispering, "It's all right, I've got you." Outside, the hunters regrouped, furious but shaken, their commander snarling, "She cannot be allowed to live free. She is too dangerous." Marcus's jaw tightened as he carried her deeper into the cave, his voice calm but unyielding. "Dangerous or not, she's mine to protect." The night outside roared with shouts and threats. But inside the cave, a bond had been sealed. Marcus now knew the truth of the child's curse, and he no longer cared. He had chosen her, and nothing in the galaxy would make him let go. The cave was silent after the blast of light. Dust still hung in the air like smoke. Marcus knelt with the child in his arms, her small body limp, her glow faded to a faint shimmer. He brushed the dirt from her face, whispering, "Stay with me, you're safe." But safety was only an illusion. Outside the cave, the sound of voices rose, angry and sharp. The hunters had seen what the child could do. Now their determination to capture her was greater than ever. Torches burned at the cave mouth. Shadows moved along the walls. Armored boots scraped against the stone floor. The commander's voice echoed, low and cruel. "Human, step aside. The cursed child belongs to us. Give her up and we may let you live." Marcus stood slowly, his body aching, his shoulder throbbing, but his eyes were steady. He looked at the dark figures filling the entrance, their weapons gleaming. "She doesn't belong to anyone," he said, his voice firm. "Not to you, not to anyone. She's free." The hunters laughed, their voices harsh. One stepped forward, raising his shock staff. Sparks crackled in the dim light. "One human against all of us. You'll be dead in seconds." Marcus gripped the broken pipe tighter, the metal cool in his hand. His heart pounded, but he felt no fear, only resolve. Behind him, the child stirred weakly, her whisper barely reaching his ears. "Don't fight, they'll kill you." He glanced back, giving her a faint smile. Then, "They'll have to try." The first hunter lunged. Marcus sidestepped, swinging the pipe with desperate strength. The metal connected with a sharp crack. The hunter fell back with a roar, sparks flying as his staff clattered to the ground. The others charged, the cave filled with chaos, shouts and strikes echoing off the stone walls. Marcus fought with everything he had, ducking, striking, blocking, his body moving on instinct, his arms burning with effort. But for every hunter he pushed back, another pressed forward. The commander stayed at the entrance, watching coldly, his sharp eyes fixed on the child. "She cannot escape," he muttered. "Not again." The child's eyes fluttered open. She saw Marcus fighting, saw the blood dripping from his arm where a blade had grazed him, saw the exhaustion in his movements. Tears filled her glowing eyes. Her small hands trembled as she whispered, "Why? Why won't you let me go?" Marcus gritted his teeth, shoving a hunter aside, his breath ragged. "Because you're not a thing to give away. You're not a curse. You're not their prize. You're a life worth saving." The words struck her deeper than any weapon. Her tears fell, glowing as they hit the stone. She pressed her hands together, trying to hold back the strange power stirring inside her. The hunters laughed as Marcus staggered, one striking him hard across the ribs. He fell to one knee, the broken pipe slipping in his grip. Pain shot through his chest. But still he rose again. Still he stood in front of the child. The commander stepped forward at last, his weapon humming with energy. "Brave but pointless," he sneered. "You cannot stop us, human. You will break. And when you do, she will return to her chains." Marcus's chest heaved, blood at his lip, his vision blurring, but his voice was clear. "Then I'll break standing between you and her." The commander raised his staff, ready to strike the final blow. But before the weapon fell, the cave lit up, brighter than fire, brighter than the torches. The child's glow burst from her, small body like a rising sun, her eyes blazing, her hands stretched out, light spilling like rivers of power across the stone walls. The hunters stumbled back, their armor rattling, their weapons sparking uselessly. One by one they fell to their knees. Blinded, Marcus turned, shielding his eyes, his breath caught. She was standing, no longer trembling, her chains glowing and melting away as if her own power rejected them. Her voice rang out, stronger than before. "I am not cursed. I am not your prisoner," she cried. "I am free." The hunters roared in panic, some fleeing toward the cave mouth, others collapsing as the light struck them. Their commander staggered, his face twisted with fury. "No, you will not escape. You are ours." The child's glow flared again, a wave of light pushing him back. His staff shattered in his hands. He screamed as he stumbled out of the cave, his voice fading into the night. "This is not over. Human. She will bring doom to you all." Silence followed, broken only by Marcus's ragged breathing. The child's glow dimmed slowly, her small body trembling as exhaustion overcame her. She collapsed into his arms once more. He held her close, whispering into her hair, "You're not cursed. You're stronger than they'll ever understand." Her eyes fluttered open, her voice weak but certain. "You didn't leave me, even when they tried to break you." Marcus gave a faint smile, though his body ached with pain. "I told you I don't abandon anyone." The night outside was quiet again, but Marcus knew the peace would not last. The hunters had been beaten, but they would return, stronger, angrier. Still, as he looked at the fragile child in his arms, he felt something fierce in his chest. Not fear, but pride. Together, they had survived, and together, they would face whatever came next. The cave was quiet after the battle, but the silence was heavy, filled with the smell of smoke, the sting of blood, and the faint glow of the child's skin. Marcus sat against the cold stone wall, his breath sharp and uneven, his ribs aching where the hunter's strike had landed. The child lay beside him, her head resting on his arm, her eyes closed, her glow now only a faint shimmer. Marcus lifted, a hand to check her breathing, relief washing through him as he felt the weak but steady rise and fall of her chest. For the first time since the market, Marcus allowed himself a moment to close his eyes. The pain in his body was deep, but deeper still was the thought that he had nearly lost her. He had seen her stand against the hunters, power flowing out of her like a storm. But then she had collapsed, like a candle flame flickering out. Her small voice broke the silence. "You're hurt," she whispered, her glowing eyes opening slowly. "Your side, it bleeds." Marcus gave a faint laugh, though it sounded more like a groan. "Takes more than that to stop me," he said. The child sat up, her small hands shaking as she touched the wound on his ribs. Her glow brightened slightly, warm against his skin. Marcus flinched but did not pull away. "What are you doing?" he asked. She lowered her head, whispering, "I don't know. But sometimes when I touch, the pain lessens. A strange warmth spread through his body where her glowing hands pressed. The sharp sting of the cut softened. The ache in his muscles eased. Marcus stared at her in disbelief. "You're healing me." Her lips trembled. "Maybe, or maybe just slowing the hurt. I don't understand it." He reached out, brushing the dirt from her pale hair. "Whatever it is, it's a gift, not a curse." Her eyes filled with tears. "But they call me cursed. Everywhere I go, they chain me, they sell me, they say I'll bring ruin." Marcus leaned closer, his voice low but firm. "Listen to me. They fear what they don't understand. They use chains because they are weak, not because you are. Your power is not ruin. It's hope." Her small shoulders shook as tears spilled down her glowing cheeks. She buried her face against his chest, whispering, "I don't want to be a burden to you. I don't want you to get hurt because of me." Marcus wrapped his arms around her, holding her close despite the pain in his ribs. "You're not a burden. You're the reason I fight before I found you. I was just a traveler with no purpose. But now I know why I keep moving. I know what I have to protect." The child's fingers clutched his shirt tightly, her glow brightening with each shaky breath. "Then I'll protect you too," she said softly. "If you don't leave me, I won't leave you." Marcus smiled faintly, his voice steady. "That's a promise." Outside, the night wind howled. Across the rocky ground, carrying the faint echo of hunters regrouping in the distance, Marcus knew they would not stop. They would come again, stronger and angrier, but for now inside the cave, there was peace. The child leaned back, looking at him with eyes that glowed softly. "Where will we go?" she asked, her voice trembling. "To the stars." Marcus answered, his gaze fixed on the dark cave ceiling. "We'll find a way out of this city, out of this planet, somewhere safe, somewhere you can live without fear." Her lips parted in wonder, as if the thought of freedom in the stars was too big to believe. "Safe," she repeated. The word, sounding fragile but sweet. Marcus nodded. "Safe, I promise." For hours they rested, Marcus fighting the pain in his body, the child fighting the fear in her heart. Slowly, trust grew between them like a fragile flame. Each word, each touch, each shared breath, weaving a bond stronger than chains, stronger than fear. At dawn, the cave mouth glowed faintly with the light of the rising suns. Marcus stirred, his body stiff but his will unbroken. He glanced at the child curled beside him, her glow soft in the morning light. She looked peaceful for the first time, as if for one night she had been free from the nightmare of chains. But peace shattered as a horn sounded in the distance, deep and metallic, the call of hunters on the move. Marcus stood, his hand tightening around the broken pipe, his voice firm as he touched the child's shoulder. "Wake up, it's time." She opened her glowing eyes, still heavy with sleep. "They're coming again," she whispered, fear rushing back into her voice. Marcus nodded. "Yes, but this time we'll be ready." The child rose slowly, her chains now broken completely, her wrists marked but free. She stood beside him, smaller, weaker, but her glowing eyes fierce with determination. In that moment, Marcus saw not just a fragile child but a partner, someone who would fight with him, someone whose trust had become a bond of fire. Together, they stepped out of the cave into the morning light, their shadows stretching across the rocks, the hunters waiting beyond the horizon, the final storm approaching. Marcus whispered as they walked, "Whatever happens, remember this. You are free, and no one will ever chain you again." The child nodded, her voice steady. "And I will never let them chain you either." The bond was sealed, forged not only in pain but in the promise of freedom. The morning suns rose higher, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Marcus and the child stood side by side on the rocky ground, the cave behind them, the open wasteland before them. Far across the horizon, dust rose in the air, a sure sign the hunters were coming. The child's small hand slipped into Marcus's, her glow faint in the daylight but still warm. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They will keep chasing. Until I am chained again." Marcus tightened his grip, his voice calm but fierce. "Then we make our stand here today and show them we don't bow to chains." The wind carried the sound of armored boots, dozens of them. The hunters marched in a line, their commander at the front, his broken staff replaced with a new one, his eyes burning with rage. "Human!" he shouted across the rocks. "Step aside and hand her over. You cannot fight us all. You will die for nothing." Marcus stepped forward, pipe in hand, his body still battered but his spirit unbroken. "Then I'll die protecting her. And even if I fall, she will never belong to you." The commander laughed, sharp and cruel. "Fool, your courage means nothing against our numbers." He raised his hand, and the hunters spread out, encircling Marcus and the child, weapons sparking, the yow. Child trembled, her glow flickering with fear. "Marcus," she whispered, "there are too many." He knelt, looking into her glowing eyes, his own steady. "You're not alone anymore. Whatever happens, we face it together." Her lips trembled, then pressed tight. She nodded, her small hands clenching. The hunters charged, the ground shaking with their march. Marcus swung his pipe, striking the first that came close. Sparks flew, a cry rang out. Another hunter swung low. Marcus blocked. Pain shot through his arms, but he pushed forward, refusing to give ground. The child stood behind him, her glow building, her eyes wide with fear but also with determination. Each time Marcus staggered, her voice rose. "Stand. Don't fall. I'm here," the commander roared. "Take the human alive. The child must see him broken." They pressed harder, their numbers overwhelming. Marcus's chest burned, his ribs screamed with pain. But still he stood, his strikes wild but fierce, every blow fueled by his promise. At last, one hunter struck him hard. The pipe clattered. From his grip, Marcus fell to his knees, blood on his lips. The commander stepped closer, his staff raised high. "This is the end, human. Your foolish stand dies here." The child screamed, her glow exploding like fire. Light burst from her, small body brighter than the sun's overhead. The hunters stumbled, blinded, their weapons sparking uselessly. The ground cracked beneath their feet. She stepped forward, her voice ringing clear. "You will not chain me. You will not chain him. We are free." The commander shielded his eyes, roaring, "You cannot control it. You are a danger to all. This power will destroy you." But Marcus forced himself up, his hand gripping the commander's arm, his voice steady despite the blood in his throat. "No, it won't destroy her because she isn't alone anymore." The child's glow surged one final time. A wave of light rippling across the battlefield. Hunters were thrown back, their armor scorched, their weapons shattered. The commander screamed as his staff cracked apart in his hands. Sparks consuming it, he stumbled back, blinded, his voice breaking. "This isn't finished," before fleeing into the wasteland. Silence fell, broken only by Marcus's heavy breathing and the child's soft sobs. She collapsed into his arms, her glow fading to a gentle shimmer. "I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid I would lose you." Marcus held her close, his voice quiet but steady. "You won't. I'm not going anywhere." Around them the hunters lay scattered, some unconscious, some crawling away in fear, none daring to rise against her again. For the first time, the child was not seen as cursed, but as powerful, untouchable. The rising suns painted the battlefield in golden light. Marcus lifted the child into his arms, his body battered, his spirit burning. "It's over for now," he whispered. "But this is only the beginning. We'll find a place where chains don't exist. A place where you can live free." She rested her head on his shoulder, her small fingers gripping his shirt, her voice faint but certain. "As long as you don't leave me, I'll believe it." Marcus smiled weakly, looking out at the endless horizon. "I won't. I promise." Together they walked forward, past the broken weapons, past the fallen hunters into the light of a new day, the human and the alien child. No longer just survivor and rescuer, but family bound by choice. The galaxy would remember them not as cursed and lost, but as free, and as proof that chains could be broken, not just by strength but by compassion.